sailor hat on there.
Boy, it's 6 o'clock. Good evening, everybody. Please stand as we begin our meeting with the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilman Patrick will lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for each person represented here, Lord. We just pray that you give us wisdom and guidance, and as we carry on the business of the city, I thank you for each person represented here and what they do for the city and what they do for our community members and our friends and neighbors. God, just be with us, give us guidance. Thank you for all you do. In Christ's name, amen.
Bennell,
Present.
Gauntz,
Yes, ma'am.
Kirkpatrick,
Yes, ma'am.
Lowry,
Here.
Marion, Neal, Norris,
Here.
Trigg, Witcher.
All right, we have one absent, Councilman Marion, called incredibly he is on a flight coming back from Florida that got delayed. So he's not on the ground yet, but I hope he has a safe return. We've always really know what we do here tonight. Now that we have determined a quorum, let's talk about the agenda for tonight. I will entertain an ordinance that we approve the agenda for tonight as it was presented. Motion.
Second by Bennell. Aye. Aye. Motion by Bennell.
Second, Kirkpatrick.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving those minutes indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are passed with 2 votes. We want to begin with some review of some things that have been going on around here since a little over a week ago with some storm damage, and our community had to step up and respond to a really terrible weather situation. And I asked, first of all, the superintendent of the Glasgow Plant Board, Dave Kuskova, to tell us a little bit, because they since he came here from the upper peninsula of Michigan, has seen weather Kentucky style as well as that Friday evening, and I want to get his reaction to that and his reaction to the people who stepped up at the electric plant board to make sure that we had power resumed as quickly as possible. Dave, come to that forward.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, and this isn't me trying to be funny or humorous, but I really thought Kentucky was warmer than it is. And that's the truth. It's been suggested that I brought this cold weather with me, but it was suggested to me tonight, actually, and I won't name any names, but her, initials are. So, anyway. But no, I'd like to really thank the community for its patience during the last weekend's events. Their outpouring of really support for our team and kind words. It was really refreshing to see a lot of what the comments that were made, and definitely appreciated by our staff. And, the storm last Friday began at approximately 1:20 was when we saw the first breaker operation. And it was really a 5-hour event from 1:20 until roughly 6:30. There was a lot of different things going on our electrical system. And I gave each one of you just the notes that I'm going over. I thought that it'd be just as easy as so many numbers and things like that, that instead of trying to just digest what I'm saying, you can kind of follow along. But, so we have approximately 7,600 meters or customers. And at some point on Friday afternoon, at least 5,000 of those customers were out of service, those residential customers or business customers. So, and by late Friday evening and early Saturday morning, we had all of those, all except 348 customers were basically restored. So, and I'll get a little bit more into that in a minute. But so then we worked through Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to restore those remaining 348. And the last customer their power was restored at 6:30 on Monday evening. So that's roughly a 72-hour time frame, which is a long time to be without power. So just a little bit about our system, and again, I'm not going to get into too many details, but we have 7 distribution substations with 23 distribution circuits. Those are the main 3-phase feeders that you see going around town. And in our substations, there's 23 circuit breakers. Of those 23, 15 saw some sort of an operation, meaning they tripped open and then it closed back in. And of those 15, 11 of them eventually locked out. And for a circuit breaker to lock out, usually it has to cycle 3 times. And then it realizes, okay, the fault isn't going to clear. The tree is on the line for the duration or whatever. Or a wire came off and is on the ground. So 11 of those circuits tripped and locked out. So any customer that was on one of those circuits was without power. We also had a tree come down on our 69 kV transmission system, which took 2 substations completely out of service. Our Lexington substation, which is up by the hospital and the water tower, and then our Front Street substation was completely out of service, which is right here in town. So the bulk of our residents were out of power. So we spent, the rest of Friday afternoon and evening assessing the damage and determining what we could fix fairly quickly, by cutting a tree off the line, or what we could reroute. And again, by the time late Friday evening, early Saturday morning rolled around, we had all the customers back on except for the 348. So those customers that were still without power were on a secondary feeder that had trees on it and had a fuse open up or whatever, that sort of thing. So then we spent again the rest of the weekend getting those 350 customers back in service. It was quite a weekend. We also had a crew in from Marietta, Georgia, which really helped a lot with a couple of big situations that maybe didn't affect a whole lot of customers, but they took a long time to fix. And we had them focused on, I think, they really restored 3 different major items, and including the transmission pole that broke. That was the crew that fixed that transmission pole. They had some big bucket trucks and they had a good crew, so they took care of that. And then just a little bit of some numbers are still coming in, but we had 15 to 20 broken poles, and we had 9 transformers that had to be replaced because as a tree came down and tore wires down, it would break bushings, or the transformer ended up on the ground in a couple cases. So we have 9 of those for sure. There may be more than that, but we're still gathering the data. And I guess on that note, I think it'd be worth, once we have, a presentation that we're putting together for the EPB board, to possibly come back and give another bit of an update with some pictures and things like that of what we were doing. So on the cable broadband side, we had numerous subscribers out, obviously, and some of those were because there was no power. The system is powered And so we had a lot of customers out in the county that were out because of farmers. Rural Electric had a lot of outages, of course. And then we had, then we also had a lot of wires on the ground. So we still, as of tonight, have 3 of our cable and internet customers out of power. And they're just one-off type situations that it's unfortunate. There's going to be a lot of work to restore them, but we'll get it. So, but today, I think going into this morning, we probably had 15 or 20 customers out, and we got all but 3 restored today. So we're at the end of it for the most part, and get back to some business as usual. But I would say that, a couple of things. One, the team at the EPB, as everyone here, I think, knows, and oh, by the way, I forgot to introduce Todd Barber. He's here just to support me tonight in case someone asks a question that I can't quickly answer. But we have a great team there, and the willingness of everyone to pitch in and do their part really comes forth in a situation like this. And when the initial outage happens, there's some level of excitement even of okay, how are we going to attack this? And as the weekend goes on, of course, people get tired, but we still stuck with it, and the team really did a great job sticking with it, and working hard to get as many people back on as quickly as possible. So that was really great to see, and tomorrow we have one of the initial meetings, kind of an after-action review, after-event review, to look at how can we do things even better in the future. What went well? What could we have done better? Because on top of, Todd here is good for him, bad for us. He's retiring this year, and we've got 7, including him, there's 7 people in 2023 that are retiring. So we'll take this event and try to learn from it, and teach everyone else that's there, that's going to have to fill in for those that are retiring, to learn from. So that's about all I have, but I will certainly take any questions that the council might have.
Thank you for your team. Great job in a bad situation.
Yeah, appreciate that, and certainly accept that on behalf of the EPB team. This is one of those situations where, because I've only been here a year and a half, it's truly, the team that's there are those that really got it done. I was a spectator for the most part, providing whatever support I could, and I was really, really pleased. And talking a little bit about the younger crew that's coming up, we purposely let them take the lead in a lot of in the war room, as we call it, and they did a marvelous job. Todd and a couple of the other older guys, they just sat back and were there if we needed them, but purposely the younger crew stepped up, and I thought did a fantastic job too. So,
Dave, I'd echo Councilman Gaunt's comments there. Appreciate the work everyone did on that. Could you tell us the integrity of the system right now? Like before the event on the 3rd, 100% integrity, everything was going well. But today, I know except for these few internet customers, are we back 100%? The integrity's good?
The integrity is very good, barring another event like that. Of course, those trees that fell can't fall again, so that's always good. But no, I think the integrity it's good. It's very good. And with this, we'll use this event to look at where we can have some additional switches put in to be able to reroute quicker, some additional reclosers that are be out on the system to sectionalize one piece of the system and keep the rest on. But as it stands, yeah, there's nothing like that's just cobbled together and could have an issue. There will be places we'll have to go back and clean up, but the work that was done is there for good. Doesn't have to go back and be fixed. Yeah.
Dave, what about and I know you can't get to all of them, but as driving around, there's trees still like running through wires, and I mean, is there any, I guess, pre-maintenance work that can be done with some of the trees being cut back, or is that, I don't even know how that transpires.
So what we're moving toward, and we're going to look at increasing the budget for tree trimming. What we move toward is what I would call cycle trimming, which is to hit each one of our circuits from the substation all the way out to the end. Especially, well, even on the single phase, the tertiary feeders. But we started that process, and it's really trying to get all of the trees that are in the right-of-way cleared. The issue is that a lot of these trees that will knock out the system come from outside the right-of-way. And, we had a situation at the Housing Authority, for example. There's a huge pine tree that fell from outside the Housing Authority's property and, hit one of the Housing Authority buildings, took our secondary down, and, you really aren't going to clear all of the trees that could come and hit the system, but for the most part, we're going to have within, I would say, a 3 to 4 year time frame, all of the lines will be, fully cleared on the right-of-way, and then we'll start the cycle over. And that's something we really just started to put into place last July. So, but people don't like trees cut either, but yet we found that if you talk with them and you work with them, instead of just, partially cutting a tree, they might want the whole thing taken out, and we're willing to do that, try to make it look as good as we can, so.
I got a couple hard questions.
Okay.
Number one, these events happen all the time. And the communities, once we call it seems like, I try to explain to them, there's a priority on how you start doing that. So it seems like, we know it has happened, it does have capital this year. So like the trees that fall in line on Gray Street gets their service back as fast as possible. I told them those are the main lines for the city hospital and all that, and that's actually done. So the question is there a priority in this? And can you just quickly say, yes, there's a priority, once it is, next year,
Yeah, I would say there's really a couple ways that we go about it. Certainly
since we know it now, then it comes from two directions, right? Yeah, electricity comes from
East Glasgow and Haywood. So a lot of it's done on the fly, the decision making, of course. And the way we approach it is what is going to get the most customers back on as soonest. That's the first thing. And the main feeders are always going to be a priority. And then what we start to look at is how many customers, when we go work on this, how many customers are going to come back on when we get that done, and how long is that going to take. So you might have some situations where it's really just replacing cutting one small tree off the line that didn't knock anything down and replacing a fuse. That's going to get done before maybe something that even brings 30 customers back on, because even if it was only serving 5 customers or something like that. But yeah, it's not, other than the main feeders, then it's really where can we get the most impact for the time we have to put in.
So that would feedback on what you said earlier about the house for longer than electricity stored also in Bridge Street.
That one we really didn't find out. We didn't realize I didn't realize anyway, what was going on there until Sunday. That because it's 1 meter feeding a bunch of places. Yeah. Yeah, and it just, so that was an interesting one.
The other question was, San Silvio still got progress, right? I said we came before that.
Yeah.
Came before it, but
So the cost to install underground is significantly higher than overhead. And that doesn't necessarily solve all of your problems. In fact, when underground goes out, your outage is going to be a lot longer than when overhead goes out. But it's an expense thing. A lot of bigger cities in the downtown area, as they do major street rebuilds, a lot of those utilities are put underground in just major underground, I don't know what you would call it, conduit or utility rights of way underground that hold, water and cable and electricity. So that would be really a city initiative as much as the EPB's initiative. But we're putting underground in a lot of, we're converting a lot of backyard, single phase to underground as time goes on. But if we do a couple of projects like that a year, you're just talking, 20 years to really notice much of a difference, so.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
You and Tom go back and tell your team how proud we are that they stuck with it, and all the training, all of the planning, it all paid off. And my goodness, I think about, you had to have all the spare parts right there too. You couldn't be, I would hate if my power was off because you had to order something from some other
Yeah.
state.
It's a challenge.
That says so much for the organizations you all have, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And so
Thank you.
tell me, there's only 3 people in Glasgow that don't know that Kentucky actually made the NCAA tournament. Those 3 that are still.
That's, yeah.
They'll know maybe by the end of this meeting. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
All right, thank you.
Also, I wanted to have this lady, I don't know how many hats she wears, but tonight she's wearing the hat of interim director of the Department of Public Works, April Russell. April, I witnessed firsthand her taking control of a terrible situation because she knows about it and she's been through it before. So I'm putting the onus on you to tell us what the Department of Public Works had to do in response to this terrible Friday afternoon event.
Sure. So we lost power Friday afternoon. The landfill lost power also. Beverly and the 911 center, they were very efficient. When we lose power, we also lose our phone system. And so we communicated by cell phone, sent those messages to Wes, and Wes coordinated based on the priority of roadways being reopened. And he sent all of our guys, employees out to start clearing roads. When the landfill lost power, they closed that down, and they came and helped us start clearing the roads, the ones that we were able to. They also helped, the police department called, they helped them get Shoney's roof out of the road, out of the state road, to help with that area also. So that was a big deal that night. They stayed, they weathered, it was windy, and they went out and they got the things out of the roadways. They opened them back up to make sure people could pass through safely. Saturday morning, the landfill, of course, lost power on Friday afternoon, which kind of messed with the system. So Stephanie from City Hall went out there and helped them get back up and running with the IT part of it, come up to City Hall and reset everything. We opened a little late, but we were able to open, which was a huge deal. Nick, Buck, and all the guys out there agreed to stay until 2 on Saturday to give people extra time to bring things out there for a drop-off. We were very appreciative of them. The rest of this past week, Wes coordinated right-of-way cleanup throughout the city. He also helped in the parks. Saturday morning, Eddie, myself, Nick, and the mayor made the decision to put dumpsters out to try to alleviate some of the traffic we knew would be coming into the landfill the rest of the week with storm cleanup. So we took dumpsters to, I say we very loosely, I did not take the dumpsters. The landfill employees took the dumpsters to Weldon, Beaver Creek Park, and Gorham Park. Those were there from Saturday to Saturday, so we did 7 straight days. They could bring their debris there. It was free. We also accepted the debris at the landfill for free. That is a huge help to the citizens, and it also was a lot of work for those employees. Just to give you an example, we took in 473 tons of debris last week for free, and they did that. They worked just in the dumpsters alone was 65 tons. So Buck and Nick for the week spent their days cleaning up the drop sites of the park, because when the dumpsters got full, they would just dump beside it, and so they spent their entire week cleaning that up and changing those dumpsters in and out. That equals $23,692 that the city pretty much gave back to the citizens of Barron County, just because we wanted to help with cleanup. We knew it was a rough time for all the citizens, and we made that decision to do. The Lakeside, we had a truck go down, and Lakeside come and helped us out Monday morning. That doesn't need to go unnoticed. A small business that'll help us out is a huge deal to us, and it made things go smoother for the guys out there. Let's see, we lost lots and lots of trash cans in the wind and recycling bins. If you see any of those, call us. We'll come get them. We're on the hunt for them. We also had some damage at the street department and at the landfill. We lost a sanitation roof. It has skylights in it. When the roof comes off, it's just holes in it. And then we also lost some things off, some shingles and things off the office roof. And then we lost a roof at the landfill. The HVAC unit was damaged. Dennis Profit, the mayor's hired Dennis Profit, our maintenance guy, and he has been wonderful. He come in, patched the roof for us until the roofers can get there, until insurance can get there, so everything didn't get wet. He took the lead on all of that. It took a huge burden off of us. He was able to do that. He has repaired our generator at the street department, and he has scheduled the generator at the landfill to be hooked up. So next time that our power goes off, hopefully the generators will kick in. That is also a major help to us. So we really appreciate Dennis and everything he did. All of the employees, they really stepped up this past week because we asked a lot of them. They were out doing extra cleanup, but at landfill, they took in a lot of extra debris, things of that nature. You have to remember, after we take that debris in, we'll still have to process it. We'll still have to put it in composting, grind it up, so you still have the labor, the fuel, the maintenance on the equipment, things to that nature. Do you have any questions?
Just same thing, as I said today, thank you and your team for, we all don't really understand what goes on. We just want to fire on, and, there's a lot of people working, so thank you.
It was amazing to see all the city departments. You guys should be really proud of everybody, because each city department, city hall, fire, police, everybody, they really worked hard together.
After you made the announcement that you were going to dumpsters at 12, and then this one just said the dumpsters were full, and the folks started putting them on the sides, then when the dumpsters left, or when they removed them, I guess there wasn't a replacement dumpster, so folks continued to pile them.
Right, so sometimes there was a replacement and sometimes there was not a replacement. Sometimes they got full before we could get to them because we would leave them overnight. So if we go home at 3:30, they had till 6 o'clock to dump their debris. It was a beautiful week last week, so it was the perfect time for it.
It was much like we used the word team with the EPB folks, the DPW folks, and all the city street department, landfill. Everybody just kicked in and said, we got a job to do, and there they were. It was just really something very, very rewarding. And there's lots of interesting stories. I have lots and lots of texts and emails from citizens who were bragging about the way people from the city street department came in and got trees out of the way. They were worried about it. It was just, it's a very, these refreshing things that are said. Appreciate that. We need to say, speaking about refreshing, let's talk about the fire department and the police department. April, I know that Chief Rock was called to U.S. Bank where the roof blew off of U.S. Bank, and all of the roof debris was blowing into the 911 dispatch center, scaring those people to death.
He was all over the place picking up, I know he went and picked up some sheet metal, some different things like that out of the road. So the fire department went out, was helping pick up that type of stuff. Also, is there a tree on the car? We got a call that there was a tree on a car. We let them handle that one. We stayed away from it. The police department, of course, like I said, they were guarding the roof of Shoney's.
Major Flat personally took pride in that roof off of Shoney's out there.
So they were out there. They not only helped us do that, they would block roads until we could get there when you had trees down, until we could come and bring signs, things to that nature. So they were patient with us because we couldn't be everywhere at once.
Well, we went through it. Terry, you want to say something?
Yeah, April, again, great job with Public Works and you and all the staff and all the city employees. But what do we need? Do we have any shortcomings, like equipment that we need when this is going to happen again? We know it's probably going to happen again. So what can we do now to prepare for that and start planning as we move forward?
The first thing we did was make sure that our generators worked for the next ones.
Because they didn't work, right?
They did not work. That is already, Dennis Profit has already jumped on that, and he has got us going. That was the first thing, because like I said, we didn't have any phone systems. We actually just put in a grant for a wood chipper. So that is something that we will hopefully have for next time, because being able to chip the wood before we bring it in, that will alleviate some of the work on the landfill also. Again, if we had the generator, I don't think our system at the landfill would have failed, and we would have been able to stay open and open up on time on Saturday morning. Otherwise, the things that we need, we've already made a list of. We need chainsaws, more chainsaws, sharp. We make sure everything's sharp. When we know a storm's coming particularly, they spend their time making sure that everything's dressed up. So we put some new chainsaws in there, some different sizes for the bigger trees, things of that nature.
All right. Anybody else have anything for April? I will say also one more thing. Eddie Furlong with the Parks and Recreation, who's going to come and speak, but his guys and gals were absolutely heroes up there at Weldon Park. It was amazing to watch how the skill of the rec department could saw up trees up there. If you want to see it, NBC 40 came up there and filmed all types of work of Eddie and his staff sawing up the trees at Weldon, and it's some skill there. They had a mobile saw sharpening assembly line thing up there. It just, again, team. It makes you feel good. That's the way I'm going to transition at the special call meeting. Councilman Trigg asked for an update on the parks. So I thought we would segue right into Eddie Furlong, our Parks Director, and let's just get a little update on that, Ed, if you want to. If you want to brag on your men too, that'd be good too.
Well, I do. I want to brag on my guys. So, like everybody else, after the storm, we were all out getting stuff cleaned up and whatnot. We had a lot of damage in the parks. I think we counted 17 trees through all the different parks. We had bleachers flipped over, porta potties flipped over, just a lot of trash and stuff. So we spent all day Saturday cleaning up so that we could get the parks back open safely. And then on Mondays when we started cutting all the trees up and stuff like that. So hats off to my crew, Public Works. They helped us tremendously. And like the mayor said, everybody worked together, and it's just awesome to see. So I'll venture over to Joe now. Joe, what exactly would you like for updates? I know you asked for updates on the parks.
I think we're approving money for
The electric, okay. At Richardson Stadium.
And so
Okay, so we awarded the contract last week to StarTel. They have started the project as of Thursday, I think it was, that they started. I met with Don this morning, and they have some of their supplies that they're going to start putting out in the field on Thursday. So time frame that he gave us, we should be good to go, assuming no more weather incidents or anything like that. March 24th is the date that we're shooting for. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, do a little dance. We're hoping to be operational by March 24th for electric. The backstop is done, has been done for a couple weeks now. We are still waiting on the padding for the backstop. I haven't heard from my vendor just yet, but it should be here in the next week or two. At least that was the original time frame. So as soon as we get that, that'll go up. We have put porta potties out there for the restrooms since there aren't going to be any restrooms around the field. I did meet with the school system the week before last, and we have a game plan as far as how people are going to come into the park, where they're going to park at around the field, and hopefully they can still come and see the games like they would hope to. There is a contract lease agreement that has been made up by Rich. And I know the schools have looked at it. I think they still have some questions because I spoke with Chad Mollenkamp last week, and he's going to try to get a meeting with us
just, Mayor, just FYI, so that we can get together and kind of hash things out. Other than that, that's pretty much it for Richardson right now.
So I guess that you lead right into where I wanted to go, agreeing on that. That we do, or we're working on an agreement with Glasgow and Davis Services.
Yes, sir. For the use of Richardson Field, yes.
Is it only this?
It didn't talk about tennis courts at Richardson, no, just Richardson.
The school board last time we made the executive decision, no action was taken this year. Is it going to be open to the public, whatever that agreement is, or is it going to be?
I think once we have that agreement in writing, we'll make it known.
Sure.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Do we approve that, or is that something that's internal to the parks, and that, department type thing, would we didn't make that decision on that one of those things?
It's that gentleman sitting right down there. Go ahead, Rich, I'm sorry.
Anything related to conveying real estate and lease would be a form of conveyance would come before the council. Once we get a draft that both sides tentatively approve, then it'll come in front of the council for final approval, and then in front of the Board of Education for their approval as well. And Kentucky Department of Education has to approve it on their end also.
Rich has been working with Tom Davis, is the attorney for the Glasgow Independent Schools, and Rich is our attorney, and they've been kind of making sure that all the bases are covered, so to speak.
So there'll be an agreement on the lease terms, and then there'll be an agreement on the cost, what that's going to incur. So it'll be, like right now, y'all probably doing the bones of just trying to agree philosophically, and then there would be
Right.
X amount of dollars.
Who pays for utilities, what the rent's going to be each year, insurance, all the big ticket items, and then we'll go from there.
And could you comment a little bit about Branch Carroll, where we are with that on American Legion?
Yeah, so the mayor and I met with Branch Carroll probably 3 weeks ago now, I think it was. We gave them some ideas, kind of what we have talked about in the Parks Committee, and they were going to come up with a preliminary design to present back to us. We should have that, he said a month, so probably next week or the week after. I haven't talked to him since then, but I'll reach out and find out, give you an update.
Very, very knowledgeable. They've done a lot of this. I feel like we got the right people helping us make this everything we can make it.
Yeah, they're familiar with the plan. I mean, they did it roughly 5 years ago now, so they had a lot of information already, which was good.
And will it be a comprehensive plan, or are we targeting like one or two parks?
It's just American Legion Park.
Okay.
Largely because, Patrick, of the need to move on with the swimming pool. That is the impetus for starting there.
Yeah, that's priority number one for us, is the city pool.
Eddie, is the playground equipment at Beaver Creek complete?
As of this morning, what I was told is they plan to be done tomorrow afternoon, so knock on wood on that as well. Assuming that it is done tomorrow afternoon, we're going to officially open it on Wednesday. We will make an announcement on our Facebook page, and then the city will post it as well. So wait until you hear from us before you send people out there, because there is going to be caution tape and stuff up until we get it completely open. But that's the target, is at the end of the day tomorrow.
You're talking about damage to the park system. Any major damage that we've got?
Not really major for us. We had a lot of trees, obviously, so we're going to spend the next couple of weeks doing that. We did have 3 bleachers that were tore up. 2 of them are tore up completely. One of them we might be able to save with pieces off of the others. Other than that, we've got some, like the batting cages out of Beaver Creek Park, it bent some of the poles, so we're probably going to have to replace those. Had some shingles off on some of the roofs, which that wasn't a big deal. One thing I did notice today, actually, as I was driving around the parks that we didn't notice last week, some of the ball field lights at our older parks are now all turned. So we're going to have to go back and readjust those. Yeah. We didn't catch that the other day because we were worried about trees falling and stuff like that, but I noticed that today.
Well, again, to you and your staff, I mean, a great cleanup job and ongoing with that, so. Appreciate everybody's work on that. Thank you.
A lot of city pride shown through this whole time, and that just is a good feeling for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Good job. Good questions, too. It helps. It's interesting that we all look at it from different ways, but we all need to know this. And I'll throw in one more thing, because we don't hear much from them, but we did have 2 hangars damaged at the Glasgow airport. And Sam Chambers already has, the insurance company has looked at it, and they're already going to get those hangars back up and operational very soon out there. So it could have been a lot worse. So in many cases, we were just very, very lucky indeed, and lucky to have people to take care of it. Okay, that seemed like a long, feel-good report, but it's just, sometimes it's just good to, because this is what the people that work for the city do every day. We just, it's good to have them in place and preparing for the next time. Thank everybody who gave input into this too. Very, very, very good. So let's go back to the business of ordinances, and we've got, Rich has worked this week to prepare an ordinance repealing a code of ordinance. If you would like to explain that, sir.
Yes, sir. I'll read it first and then entertain any questions. This is an ordinance repealing Code of Ordinance, Section 38.06, the procurement procedures. That whereas there are procurement procedures in the city's Code of Ordinances, Section 38.06, which were adopted by ordinance in the year 1980, hereinafter called Procurement Ordinance. And whereas the procurement ordinance is outdated, does not reflect the current state statutory framework for bidding procedures, and is not an efficient method for addressing the city's procurement matters, and is an unintended encroachment upon the duties and powers of the executive branch of the city. Now, therefore, in light of the foregoing recitals, be it hereby ordained by the City of Glasgow as follows. Section 1, the City of Glasgow's Code of Ordinances, Section 38.06, shall be and hereby is repealed in its entirety and shall no longer be applicable to the city's procurement procedures. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication according to law.
Okay, you have heard the reading of the ordinance, and you had it included in your packet when you got it on Thursday. I will entertain a motion that we pass this ordinance. Okay, is there a second?
Second, Lowry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the repealing of this particular ordinance?
I would ask a question then, this also then changes the procurement procedures that the city goes by. Do we back that out as well, update that? Okay.
Yes, sir. What that will do, Councilman Bunnell, will be to take it back to what I referred to at the special call meeting. There's a statute in Kentucky, Chapter 424, that is the general bidding statute, and that's what the city will go by. It requires advertisement of the bids no less than 7 days or no more than 21 days of the bid opening. It has certain specifications as to what has to be in that advertisement, and then the main difference now, if this ordinance passes, is that the department heads will drive the procurement and will take care of it. It would not have to come in front of the city council. The current bidding statute is anything over $30,000.
Okay. Other discussion on this particular ordinance? If there is no further discussion, then we'll call for a vote, and it will be a roll call vote. Mona?
Bunnell,
Yes.
Gauntz,
Yes, ma'am.
Kirkpatrick,
Yes, ma'am.
Norris,
Yes.
Trigg, Witcher, Lowry,
Yes.
Marion, Neal.
All right. The motion carries, the ordinance is passed, and the old ordinance is repealed. Let's move on to the resolution that we're going to read, Rich, about getting a grant that's administered by the Transportation Alternatives Program.
Yes, sir. Be it hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow that April Russell, grant writer for the City of Glasgow, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to make an application on behalf of the city for a grant in the amount of $2,613,200 for federal funds administered through the Transportation Alternatives Program for the Glasgow Alternative Transportation Endeavor, which will be used, if received, for the purpose of building a pedestrian bridge through Highway 31E, the Barlow Cemetery Road, and Parkview Drive. This grant has an 80-20 match, with the local match being $653,675. The total project amount is $3,266,875. Be it further resolved by the city that Mayor Royce is authorized and directed to execute any documents necessary to make the application.
All right, you've heard the reading of the resolution. I will entertain a motion to pass the resolution by Councilman Neal. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Witcher. Any discussion?
Yes.
You go ahead.
Yes, so this is so the Trojan Trail, I don't know if you guys go down there often enough, but the second phase of the TAP grant, of our TAP, is nearing completion. So this would be the next phase. We always intended for it to cross 31 and go down Trojan Way, Barlow Cemetery Road, Parkview, and meet 1297, because when they widen 1297, they will put a multi-use path down 1297. Because the city went through the process of the Gateway Plan, the state is encouraged to put in sidewalks, multi-use paths. In much discussion with many people, they repeatedly asked that we look at putting a pedestrian bridge over the top of 31. So it would be there from Trojan Trail to Trojan Way. This is, again, it's an application. This doesn't guarantee us anything. The one that I'm finishing now, I was awarded in 2015. If that tells you how long it takes to get federal money and get it to completion. But you got to start somewhere, and you got to ask. They can't say no if you don't ask. And I talked with the state, and they said that this is something that is applicable to that. And so, it would be pretty. And, it'd be nice to have.
Ava, my question is, okay, we take the bridge across 31E,
Yes.
and then from there, you're saying as we go on Trojan Way, is
Yes.
that our responsibility as part of this gate project? I mean, I'm looking for additional funding. Who's going to fund the rest of the route? Because if we end right there, what do we have?
Well, it's the same as the last two we've done.
Yeah.
We've done 1, 2, and it'll just continue to be TAP money, grant money. If the city ever decides to put in some of the sidewalk, make that a project that we do. We can do smaller sections. They wouldn't be under federal regulations when we did that. They still have to be engineered, obviously.
My question is just from a budget standpoint, we've got this outlay, $653,000. We've got that in the budget to do this.
Well, so like I said, I just did one from 2015. So this would be several years out.
Okay, because I haven't seen this number. I guess that's the...
No, this is a grant, and that's why we do the resolution, so that you do see it.
Right.
So it would be several years out. If they were to award us the grant, we don't have the money. If we're in a place where we don't have it, we just say no thank you and move on. We're not punished for it, but it's an option. We've built 2 sections thus far with it. And so, and maybe we take the bridge out. Maybe it's too much, because that's what did increase the price of the project. Take the bridge out and look for other ways. Maybe the state, when they look at it, say, the bridge is too much, or whatever, and they give us less money than what we asked for, and then we go back to the drawing board and ask our engineers to look at it and redesign.
Well, I guess to the council, as April was saying, we're going to approve this, but it may not be funded for years. So what decision we make today is going to impact councils moving forward. So we approve this, and we're obligating people moving forward. Does that make sense?
Do I understand you saying
She's just doing an application.
we're not obligated, even if
No.
we get the grant 6 years from now and none of us are here, the council could say, we
No,
choose
thank
not
you.
to move forward with this project?
Absolutely.
Okay. But everybody just needs to understand that, though, is that, and I don't have a problem with that, but when it comes to future dollars, you got to be aware that this is on the radar, this is on the agenda. And if it goes across 31E, then where we go with it from there, that we would have even future costs down the road with that. I'm not saying it's a bad project.
No, and that's why you guys did the Gateway Plan.
Right,
I think
right.
you were part of that.
Right.
The whole process of the Gateway Plan was to go all the way around the city, and that
Right.
Kevin, Mike, and I worked with that, and that was the whole, that's why we applied for the TAP grants, because we're trying to make that, see, that's come to.
I'm not opposed, excuse me, Council Trigg, I'm not opposed to moving forward with it, but I just want everybody to understand that there are commitments and there are obligations that we're looking down the road. And then this is the last question I have to is, how about the usage right now of what's being completed? Do we have people walking, biking, jogging, running?
Yes,
All
so
that.
the Trojan Trail, particularly the Trojan Trail path, and I've had several people come to me and say they are using it. We are waiting on pavement now. They're finishing building those walls. I don't know if you guys have seen it out there, but it looks nice. They use it daily, and I have had some of the different athletics tell me that they will use it once it is complete. It is being used, I do know that. I don't know what the rate is. I need one of those little things like you drive over.
It's not,
Council.
it's not finished though on Trojan
No.
Trail.
No, there's two
Yeah.
sections, and those were the two sections. The reason it took so long is because in 2015, the stream looked different than it does today. We had to go back and ask the Division of Water for an adjustment to the permit that we originally asked for, because we were going to be encroaching them more and fixing some things, and we were able to do that. If you notice, the water had started coming on. It was getting close to the road. So we built the two walls, and they're going to have the pavement over the top of those, and weather hasn't been the greatest.
Thank you.
So, getting back in our earlier, going with this, what you said, I believe it was on marriage.
It was the first one?
When
Yes.
we did go through, when they talked about the 5 different phases, was it 5 phases
I-
of this process, or is it going to start all over?
There's more than 5 phases.
And we were under the understanding at that time frame that we would apply for this and never move forward without the grant, and then a revote from the city. So, say you can't get the bridge, does the project end there at 31, because nobody's gonna be able to can't drive through that intersection, let alone ride a bicycle, walk, or run, across from there over to the second part of the trail, goes around there. So we're gonna end it there, start at the west side of 31E, and then go around to 1297 with no bridge.
If there was no bridge, there would be, just like there is at the intersection of Happy Valley Road and 31. People cross there all the time. This would be no different. It would just turn into a pedestrian crosswalk. And there would be the lights and the signage and whatever else is deemed necessary, and we would be in compliance with all the rules and regulations of that. And so they would take the bridge out, and we just go across, we go down Trojan Way, Barlow Cemetery Road, and down Parkview in front of Red Cross, and meet 1297 there.
So if we're lucky, like Freddie, we may get to see the end of this project.
You may.
It started on Freddie's turn 20 years ago, and maybe we can.
Maybe. Hey, nothing happens fast in the city, but we're always planning and hoping and asking. You have to have a goal. That's what Mr. Plunk told me several times the other day. You've got to have a goal, April. You've got to have a goal. And I do.
In a planning and zoning committee meeting a couple of weeks ago, April, we were talking about it. The only one like this that I can think of around here anywhere is that one in Somerset that goes across Highway 80 there after you come through the big intersection. Is that close to what this is going to look like?
I don't know, but that is the intent. That would be the intent of it, is to have the pedestrians go across. And of course, with this being federal money and anything the city does, it also has to be ADA accessible. So you realize it'll be a large bridge, and it would be ADA accessible on both sides.
All right. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second, and if there's no further discussion, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of moving forward with this grant application indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And y'all opposed? Okay, the resolution is approved. Just an FYI, some pending appointments that we're going to vote on in the meeting on the 27th. We have some pending appointments going to the Glasgow Economic Development Loan Fund. Mr. Brian Clemens is being reappointed for another 2-year term. On the Historic Preservations Commission, we have Janice Turner and Jane Baker, who have been nominated, and we'll vote on those at the next meeting. All right, we've got some, I guess we just need to go ahead and set the record straight right here. Rich, we've already done this, but let's go ahead and for the purpose of our council here, let's approve the local state of emergency that was done back on that Friday afternoon.
Mayor, these are executive orders that pursuant to prior resolution, it does not require any council approval, but for notification purposes, there are 3 executive orders. One, pretty self-explanatory. You declared a state of emergency because of the wind damage, which allows the executive to have some increased powers and accessibility to funding. And then Fire Chief Rock was kind enough to prepare these summaries of the other 2 amendments to the standard operating procedures of the fire department. Section 1, or the first section, 127, deals with grooming standards. There was a collaboration with his staff, both male and female, to try to update the standards for the firemen and firewomen in that department, more about safety than about, the outward military, typical old school look, just to bring it sort of into the 21st century. And then Section 130 deals with certifications needed for incoming firefighters. So those are the two amendments to the standard operating procedures.
All right, and there's no
action needed.
But just for your information.
I encourage you to read about it in your information packet, because you see all the work that's been done. All right, let's move to the announcement portion.
I'm not working my mic right tonight. Let's move to the announcement portion. And first of all, we have a guest with us from the Center for Energy Education, Chris Fields. Chris, if you walk over to that microphone, there's an event coming up that he would like to invite the community to.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members, for letting me have just a minute. I am the regional director for the Center for Energy Education, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit based in Raleigh, North Carolina. But me being the regional director, I live up the road in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and I'm in charge of Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. So I just want to give you a quick background on the center so you know who you're dealing with. And I always stress to everyone that we are a nonprofit, and that means a couple of things. One, it means I'm not a developer. Okay, so I'm not here to advocate on behalf of a developer, and I'm not here to advocate on behalf of a particular development. What I do is answer questions. And so in other words, if you come to me and say, hey, Chris, I just don't like solar because I don't like the way it looks, I'm going to say, that's okay. How can I stand here and argue with you about that? But if you come to me and you say, hey, Chris, I don't like solar because I hear it contaminates groundwater and causes cancer. Well, then I'm going to say, did I mention I spent 20 years in environmental consulting and I'm a professional geologist? Let's talk about that issue a little bit. And so the idea here is not that I'm advocating for a developer or a development, but rather I just intend to be a resource for you and for the community. So having said that, the center does 3 main things. We do community engagement, which is going out and talking to people, explaining what's going on, why is solar coming to town. We do education, which is the 2 events that I want to mention. And we also do a lot of workforce development because, as you know, solar is really heating up in Kentucky and really around the world. And a lot of this talk about solar is now turning into handing people shovels and tools and let's get to work. And so we also play a role in establishing workforce development. So I want to let you know we have a couple of events coming up. Next Tuesday on the 21st, we're having a lunch and learn. It's a 2-hour community education event. Anyone is invited to attend. It'll be me. I'll be talking a little bit about the center. I'll be explaining what utility scale solar is and what that means for your community. And then I'll have someone from Roundstone Native Seed Company who's going to come in and talk about seeding strategies for solar farmers. So, if you guys have seen the one, up by Clark County in Richmond, it's got the gravel ground cover. We don't like that a whole lot. That's kind of the eyesore of the industry. We like native vegetation, pollinator plants, everything looking pretty, soil healthy, and so that's what we're going to do. Talk about on the 21st. On the 28th, Chief Rock has been gracious enough to host us, and we are going to have a first responder training with his team, and talk a little bit about how, what to do in the event of emergency if you do have some kind of catastrophe or something with the solar farm. So, like I said, everyone's invited. You're probably not interested in the first responder training, but you're certainly welcome to come on Tuesday for the general education event if you would like to learn anything. And then I want to say, just as a general resource, if anybody in this room has questions, concerns, or anything like that, I'm happy to provide some answers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And did you tell me you had a handout with you that somebody could get from you, so if you'll see him before you leave, if anybody wants to get that? Thank you very much. Also, let's talk about the Free Shredder Day that's coming up on Saturday, March the 25th, from 9 a.m. until noon at the Public Works parking lot. You come in behind the post office and drive up toward the Public Works. Now, April, this is for citizens. This is not commercial.
Yes.
Is that correct?
This is for citizens and residents. We try to don't have businesses come. Lakeside works with us and gives us a special rate for that day because we do offer it for free. So we really try to respect them and what they do and have it for citizens only.
And then anything you want to say about Cleanup Week? We kind of got an early start on Cleanup Week, didn't we?
I told all the guys, I said, this was practice. I said, I just want to get y'all in shape and ready.
Yeah. Oh.
So that'll start, is it the 27th, is that correct?
That's
that
right.
Monday. Just remember, I've already seen some stuff out. Please don't put that out until your trash day. Make sure your small stuff's in bags so it doesn't blow all over the place. We won't pick it up if it's not. Set your big stuff out on your trash day and we'll come through and get it. Do not take it to the landfill. You will be charged.
April, will you please remind the citizens of just some unacceptable items?
Sure. So we don't take any household hazardous waste. So that would be things like oil, any chemicals, things that we don't want those. I know the brush is going to be a big deal. We do not take large logs, things like that. We take, if you're going to set out limbs, they have to be in 3-foot sections tied up in a bundle. That's how we always pick them up. Anytime you have limbs and things that you need us to pick up, if you call us and you have them in that manner, we'll come and get them. Let's see. Again, no small things. Don't just throw them out. No tires and things like that. Do you want to give me my list? I don't have it with me. I should know it. Just for a reason. Sure. Know it off the top of my head. We don't take appliances. At the landfill, they take appliances every day. Take the Freon out, and they take them for free. We recycle them. Liquids, pesticides, auto batteries, auto parts, tires, asbestos, construction materials, large tree limbs, and whole trees. I've got about all of them on mine.
You're good.
Did pretty good there. Again, small stuff, put it in a bag so that we can pick it up easy. Any other questions?
Anything else? Thank you, April. You can tell there's a whole lot going on around here, and we appreciate everybody making it happen because it does make a difference. Next scheduled council meeting is on Monday, March the 27th, right here at 6 p.m. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second? Okay. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Thank you all for being here very much.